We got some breaking news here on Legal AF. Michael Wolff, the intrepid reporter and journalist, the person who spent years interviewing Jeffrey Epstein, has sued Melania Trump to beat her to the punch and cut her off at the pass about claims that she was defamed by certain reporting of Michael Wolff. And he has taken affirmative action to run into court in the state Supreme Court of New York, which is the trial level court, in a new case, Michael Wolff versus Melania Trump, in which he claims that she has violated the anti-SLAPP law, which is the strategic litigation against public participation. It means you can't threaten somebody with a lawsuit, which is exactly what Michael says that she did, for billions of dollars in order to chill First Amendment expression or speech. And so rather than wait around to see if Melania was going to sue Michael Wolff yesterday, he sued her, both for a declaratory judgment, declaring that each and every one of the statements that she listed in her letter is not false, can't be the subject or the basis of a defamation case, and to also get a ruling that her letter to him and threats against him violate the anti-SLAPP law of New York. We're going to put up a copy of the complaint into the Legal AF Substack Live, and now we've got an interview with Michael Wolff, a crossover episode of Court of History here on Legal AF. It's Sidney Blumenthal, Michael Wolff, just hours after he filed the lawsuit, and me. And here's the interview.
I'm Sidney Blumenthal. The Court of History is now in session. Today, Michael Wolff has filed a lawsuit against Melania Trump. And we have Michael with us. He needs no introduction, but here's the introduction. He is the renowned author and journalist. He has received 2 National Magazine Awards. He is the biographer of both Donald Trump and Rupert Murdoch. He is the author, most recently, of All or Nothing, about the 2024 presidential campaign, and he is the host of the new Inside Trump's Head podcast. Welcome, Michael.
Sid, nice to see you again.
And I am here joined by Michael Popok, who is the founder of Legal AF and is the head of the Popok law firm. And we have a lot of questions about your new lawsuit against Melania Trump.
Fire away.
So let me frame it for our audience who may be joining this story already in progress. Michael, you've made some statements about Melania, Donald Trump, and Epstein in no particular order at various news outlets, including on Legal AF and Court of History and Daily Beast and different places. And you've stood by that reporting for quite some time. I don't think you've ever wavered in the testimony. Depends on the question you're asked, of course.
Yeah, and let me just interject just a bit of background here is that before Jeffrey Epstein's death, I spent several years in interviewing him. So I think I am probably the journalist closest to this story, at least on a firsthand basis.
And the last one that Jeffrey Epstein ever talked to while he was still alive, right?
The last message that he got out of the prison, I believe, was to me, yes.
Right. And certain of the comments that you made, just for our audience, were about the relationship between Donald Trump and Melania. And it looks like you got a threat letter, which you've attached to the lawsuit that's been filed in the New York State Supreme Court, which is the trial level court in New York, giving you until yesterday to do a bunch of things towards Melania, including an apology, or she was going to sue you, but you sued her first. Talk about the receipt of the letter, what happened yesterday, and the filing of the lawsuit today.
Well, I'm not the first person to get such a letter, and also not about such a subject. I mean, a lot of people have, or a number of people have made statements related to Melania Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, there are pictures of them together, so this is not this is not far-fetched. And so the discussion is what kind of relationship that they had, and a lot of these are questions: what kind of, who introduced them, in what circumstance? All of these questions, which clearly the Trumps do not want asked, and they certainly don't want answered. So I got a letter on the 15th, which said they're going to sue me for $1 billion unless I retract and apologize. Yeah, nothing that I've said in any reasonable, actually, and even in any wild conception of this can be called defamatory. Actually, there's what I've said is not only just statements of fact, but mild circumstances. They knew each other. They might have been in the same room when that kind of thing. But this entire discussion, they are deeply allergic to, and their way of dealing with it is to threaten $1 billion lawsuits. And they've had a fantastic record of media, of the media saying, yes, okay, fine, we'll correct, we'll do this. We just don't want to be sued. This came to me, and I've been aware that this could happen, and I thought, well, what would I do? Well, clearly, I can't retract. I can't apologize. This is ridiculous. And who would want to live in a world where that was required, that obeisance because they want it? So with my lawyers, who said, hey, this is actually against what they're doing is against the law. It's called a SLAPP lawsuit. Its very purpose is intended to intimidate and silence. And New York has a statute expressly against this, an anti-SLAPP law.
How is this an anti-SLAPP? How is this a SLAPP suit against you as a journalist? In your conversations with me on the Court of History, you have acted as the reporter, and you have reported what you were told. You've recounted what Jeffrey Epstein told you, and now they want to suppress that.
Right. So that's what
reporting.
Exactly. So that's what a SLAPP suit is. We're suing you, so you shut up. Right. And as I say, that's against the law in New York State to use the law for such purposes. So last night we sued in court in New York, asking for a declaratory judgment, a judgment that says that you can't do this. And this process gives us now the right to call witnesses, subpoena power. And those witnesses will very well include Melania Trump and Donald Trump, and therefore afford me the opportunity to really have an in-depth discussion with them under oath before a court reporter about their relationship with Donald Trump,
with Jeffrey Epstein.
I mean, with Jeffrey Epstein, yes. So, I mean, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein had this long friendship, really a joined by the hip friendship. So there will be a lot of questions.
And there may be other witnesses called as well.
Oh, yes, and anyone who might have information about their relationship, Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, Melania Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and his circle. Yes, they would be called.
You could call Ghislaine Maxwell, couldn't you?
Oh, he certainly could.
Even though she's in a Texas camp right now.
Yes, I mean, I don't know what the procedure is, but if she's subpoenaed, she has to testify. Yes.
You could call, let me just say one other witness. You could call Paolo Zampoli, who is Melania's agent, who claims to have introduced Trump to Melania.
Of course. And many others who I know who were involved in that circle. Yes.
Let me jump in, Sidney. For our audience, when we keep saying SLAPP, I know people are writing it down, and what it means. It's strategic lawsuits against public participation, and so again, it's a way for somebody to try to stop and chill First Amendment speech, or in this case, reporting as well, by threatening a lawsuit. And many states, including New York, have a statute against that. Sometimes they award you attorney's fees if you are successful. Now, let me just give an example to our audience. I'm going to put this lawsuit up in the Legal AF Substack, but here's just one example of how your lawyer so properly set this up with you being the plaintiff, coming out against the SLAPP suit and challenging the defamation, claiming that and wanting a declaration from the judge to declare that these statements cannot be defamatory, and you getting into the driver's seats. For instance, in the statements that were in the letter, one of the statements was this one. This is in paragraph 9, statement 5. In explosive tapes recorded by Wolff, Epstein alleged that Trump, this is in tapes, Epstein alleged that Trump liked to F his friends' wives and first slept with Melania on his Lolita Express. Dispositive defects in the claim, says your lawsuit. This statement is true. She cannot prove it was false, and she cannot prove the actual malice that is necessary, and that it's not defamatory to say of Mrs. Trump that Mr. Trump liked to F his friends' wives. This is really the structure for the entire lawsuit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So reporting what you have.
And it'll be interesting to have to obviously have a discussion with those friends and those wives.
Yeah. Well, some of them have already gone on the record in print in the past, and they may find themselves giving testimony now.
Yeah, no, this is, I mean, it's kind of extraordinary that they would do this, and I can only assume that they do this because they absolutely believe that I and that everyone will fold. I mean, the idea of them sitting down under oath to discuss these kind of matters. I mean, this is the central vulnerability of Trump's political life, which he has been so gifted at evading and avoiding. And this suit against me and others is just one of the ways he's avoided having to deal with these questions.
One of the statements that's alleged to have been, held against you by Melania in her libel suit is in a Daily Beast article, which you didn't write, and which you were, it's a quote by implication.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is the Daily Beast. I'm very fond of the Daily Beast, and I work with the Daily Beast, and they wrote an article, or a young person in the office wrote an article based on the podcast that I did, and in fact, incorrectly said that I said that Jeffrey Epstein introduced Melania to Donald Trump. I don't know that to be, I didn't say it, and I don't know that to be, I don't know that he made the direct introduction there. But so anyway, but I didn't say it. So it's, again, one of those things. I don't think they spend much time on these lawsuits. I don't think they hire very good lawyers on them. And this was just a slapdash effort.
Recently, Donald Trump himself said that he had gotten his wife to file these suits, and he said it publicly.
Yeah, no. Well,
so the idea that she is not involved in the whole Epstein matter can't possibly be true. She's
of course not.
involved.
Of course not. And that leads to the question of who is paying for these lawsuits. But that's. It's all a rich territory to mine.
Let me read from just 2 paragraphs at the very introduction of your lawsuit, which I think will put this in a sharp relief for the audience. In paragraph 4, your complaint says, Mrs. Trump and her unitary executive husband, along with their MAGA myrmidons, have made a practice of threatening those who speak against them with costly slap actions in order to silence their speech, to intimidate their critics generally, and to extract unjustified payments and North Korean-style confessions and apologies. The threat letter at pages 2 and 3 lists some of those whom they have pressed into unjustified submission. Paragraph 5, These threatened legal actions are designed to create a climate of fear in the nation so that people cannot freely or confidently exercise their First Amendment rights. The threats are also intended to shut down legitimate inquiry into the Epstein matter, which the Trumps and their collaborators have at every turn sought to impede and suppress. Why do you think that was important for the public and for the court to know at the top of your lawsuit?
I think it goes to the heart of this. This is not about defamation. This is about the effort on the part of the Trumps to shut people up, and it's an extraordinary effort. I mean, I don't know of any instance in the modern age where the President of the United States or the First Lady, in this instance, basically they are one and the same. Have sued the media, personally sued the media, and they have done it now repeatedly, over and over and over again, and they have had it. It has worked. It has chilled everybody's sense of safety in our business.
Well, Trump himself said he was behind Melania's complaints, as I noted. And the quote is, I've done pretty well on these lawsuits lately. And I said, go forward. Jeffrey Epstein has nothing to do with Melania and I introducing, but they do that. They make up stories. So he has stated that he got his wife to file these libel suits, which you have now attacked as a SLAPP suit. And so Trump has put himself in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the White House in all its power acting against the media and me, I'm hardly the media. I'm just a single writer.
Yeah. So Trump, as you know, and you can tell us, since you've written many books about him, has a history of intimidating people because he has lawyers behind him. It began with his hiring of Roy Cohn and getting people to concede to him, to take back lawsuits against him, to withdraw complaints.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is
as president doing that.
It's a very powerful tool if you're willing to abuse it.
Yeah. So,
and it's frightening. Frankly, it is frightening.
How do you feel about doing this?
I feel that I don't have any alternative. I mean, if I thinking this through, how do I get this to go away? I just couldn't figure out a way. And also I felt, well, damn it, there's a responsibility here. You got to do it. Now, and let me say here, I mean, this is going to be a very expensive effort, an effort that I can't afford. So I am going to ask, I have to figure this out, and I'm no doubt going to come back to you and say, can I come on the show Absolutely. When I have a GoFundMe or this and that set up? Because this is going to have to be a joint effort on the part of lots and lots of people who recognize that this is about a fundamental principle.
Right. And Legal AF was, of course, in our audience will support you on that. The next steps here, she didn't sue yesterday. You sued first. I assume that without getting into attorney-client privilege, that you're expecting some sort of countersuit back your way.
Yeah, well, let me not address that part, mostly because I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure this is the first step, and we'll see what happens. Maybe you called their bluff, and maybe not, and we'll see what. It looks like you have some great lawyers here in New York that are handling it. Has a judge been assigned? Justice?
No, not yet. I mean, this is literally this was filed last night. Mm-hmm. And even early, this morning we were looking, and it hadn't shown up on the on whatever it shows up on yet. So this is fresh off the presses, or whatever you say in your business.
Yeah. So major law firms with enormous resources have, completely collapsed in front of Trump in a kind of quiver of collaboration and cowardice. But here we are with a journalist standing up.
Yeah, and media companies, major media companies have also
one after another
folded and
paid him millions.
Yeah, no, I mean, essentially, in some way, I mean, major media companies are owned by even larger companies who want things from him. So these lawsuits then become a kind of way to give him a legal bribe.
You've been doing this intrepid reporting for quite some time. Have they threatened you before with a lawsuit?
When my first book about Donald Trump came out, Fire and Fury, and that was in 2018. I was, he came down hard, and there was legal letters and threatening and efforts to try to stop the publication of the book. And my publisher then, and this almost feels like a different time and a different climate. My publisher was Macmillan, and the head of Macmillan was a kind of book publishing legend by the name of John Sargent. And he was like, not only do we not capitulate, but we move up the publication date, and we just let them come, and they folded. They didn't come. So. But, even then I felt, oh my God, this is very fragile. And what happens if your publisher does start to get nervous? And thank God that didn't happen then, but it is happening all over now.
Well, you're a courageous defender of free speech, and the First Amendment takes a lot to go into court first. It's a very aggressive, but I think a winning strategy to challenge defamation, to challenge slap acts, especially in New York. We'll see who your judge is, and we'll certainly have you back as the case progresses and we see what the next developments are.
Well, thanks so much. And, I love coming on this show.
Yeah, we're pleased to always have you, Michael, and particularly on this day when you have filed this lawsuit, so you can explain to us your reasons about it. And so the court of history is now adjourned.
Welcome back. Thanks for watching. We try to bring newsmakers on in real time, in real life, as they happen. Can't get any more au courant than having Michael Wolff just hours after he filed the lawsuit against Melania Trump coming on Legal AF to brief our audience. I'm glad you're here. Hit the free subscribe button. Slide over to Legal AF Substack where you can get a copy of the lawsuit. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.